everybody, and welcome to my sewing room. Don't go away. We're going to do software today. My name is Rosemary, and this is Enchanting Rosemary Sewing and Embroidery. Okay, so as I just said, I wanted to do some more on the PE design software, and I thought what it would be fun, but we've kind of done layout editing, we've kind of done lettering, we've done a little bit with the design center, but we need to get into the nitty-gritty of how to do a design with the tools that are built into the software. And today we're going to do a logo, and I thought that would be really fun. We're going to use my logo from my work, but it will also teach you some of the things that you can do with the tools. So let's go to the computer, and I'm going to show you some of those tools.
Okay, so I've opened my PE Design 11 software, and I'm not sure what size hoop this is. So first, before we do anything, let's go over here to the flower. We're going to click on it. We're going to say design settings. It's got a 5x7. I'm going to change it to a 10.5 by 10.5. That's probably too big, but that's okay. It gives me a nice big square to work with. Now, what we want to do is we want to create a logo. And I've decided that you all know I work at Rocky Mountain Sewing and Vacuum, so I'm going to use their logo because I'd like to have that one to embroider out anyway. So when you want to bring in something that you're going to just trace around, you're not going to try and do the auto digitizing or the design center, you go to the image folder, and then you say open from file, and then this will open your files. I have some saved pictures here that I've been working on, some new doll faces, and I'm going to go down here. There it is right there. I don't think that's the right one. I think that's the one that saved. Yeah, this is the right one. I'm going to say open. Now, if I want to make this bigger so it fills the screen, all I have to do is just pull on it and I'll make it bigger. If I click off of it like this, I can't pick it back up again because it's not an embroidery design. It's a picture. So I need to come back over here. I'm still in the image file, and I hit modify image, and then the squares come back again. And then I'm just going to drag down until this is the size I want it to be. So I'll just drag from the corners. So that works out pretty good. That's about the size I want it to be. And you can see I kind of cropped this out off the website, so I'm missing the top, but I don't care because I'm not turning it into an embroidery. I am going to use it and trace it. And I want you to learn how to use the tracing tools. You'll get a much better embroidery than you would if you tried to turn this in with the auto digitizing. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make these two circles. So I'm going to come over here to home, and I'm going to pick shapes, and I'm going to choose a circle. Now, if I just start pulling, I can get an oval shape, but if I hold down my shift key, then it's going to make a perfect circle. And I'm just going to guess about the size I want it to be. And then I'm going to drag it over. And let's see if I pull from the corners. That's going to make kind of, let's pull it up like this. Okay, so I think that's a pretty good circle that I have right there. I'm going to pull it just a little bit more over this way. There. Now I have a circle. Now, this is drawn from whatever I drew last. So this is brown, and the zigzag is red. So what I want to do is I want to make the zigzag blue. Let's make it this color blue. And I want to make this white. Now, I can't see my logo behind it because it's in realistic. So if I go back up here to image, actually, I want to go under view, and I change this to stitch, I know I can't see through it now, but I'll tell you, if you go home and you hit the plus sign for magnify and you zoom in, see, I can see through it. So that way I know kind of what I'm doing here. So I'm going to come back over here and get my select button. And the first thing I want to do is I want to draw another circle in the center. The best way to do that is to say Control D, and it will duplicate. I can put that right on top of the last one. Let's zoom out just a little bit. Zoom to fit. Now, if I put my mouse over the corner, this the right hand black square, I'm going to put my mouse there. I am going to hold down my control button as I pull in. That's wrong. Okay, let's do this again. I get mixed up sometimes. Hold down my shift button as I pull in. Now, why is that not working? I'm going to try it again. Control. Okay, I'm sorry. I can't remember which one makes it pull in from all sides. But anyway, I made that one smaller, right? So I'm going to go to my plus sign and I'm going to come in closer so I can see through it a little bit more. And I want this circle to be the size of the inside circle here. And I'm going to zoom out again. And then if I select them both, I'm just going to click and drag so they're both selected. And then I'm going to say Arrange Center. Move to center. And hopefully that moved them both together at the same time to the center. So it also moved them out of the middle of my square. So I'm going to pull them back over here so they're back over here. This one is just a little bit not right. There we go. I don't know why seems to be drawing as an oval, but it does, doesn't it? It looks like an oval. Okay, then I'm going to put this one in the center like that. That looks pretty good. Okay, so I've got that centered in the middle of it. I got another white circle. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, whoops, what happened there? Okay, I'm going to select this one and I'm going to turn that one blue. So let's come up here to Shapes and let's turn that one blue. And then I don't want this to be outlined. So I'm going to turn off the zigzag. Let's say do not sew. Okay. So now I want to cut this so that the white isn't behind the blue because I don't want to sew that twice. So I'm going to select the inside circle, hold my control button down and select the outside circle. They're both selected now. Come up here to modify overlap and remove overlap. And now you'll see over here, see the way all of a sudden the white is got a hole in it? So that means I cut a hole behind it. So that's how I got that outside circle. Now this one here, the white one, will, with the cut, will have a satin stitch on the inside and the outside of that circle. So I don't have to have another satin stitch here. But I do want, when I do the Shapes menu, I do want to select the zigzag stitch and come over here to where my sewing attributes are. And I want to make that wider. I think I want to make it a 12. That's just a little bit wider, and that will make a prettier satin stitch on the outside of that. So that looks pretty good. So now we're going to actually kind of do the hard part. So we're going to hit plus, and we're going to zoom in here so I can see this part here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to draw this mountain scene that's right here. That one's just a little bit harder. So what I want to do is I'm going to come over here to the shapes, and these will draw shapes, but I want to draw a shape that changes and goes up and down and goes different ways. So I'm going to use, you know what I'm going to do? I was going to use the manual punch, and I'll do that with the sewing machine, but I think for the mountains, I'm just going to choose this. And I'm going to start over here in the corner. And if you are doing this, your mouse is going to change to look like that shape. My mouse on the recording does not do that. I don't know why, but it doesn't. But your mouse should change so that it looks like that shape that you just chose. So we're going to left click, left click, left click, left click, left click, go up this way, this way, this way, down. We're going to try and get this mountain shape. Just keep left clicking all the way across, down this way. I'm not sure, this doesn't look right. I'm going to just kind of do this way, this way, this way. Now, when I get to here, I'm not going to try and cross this, because if I do that and they cross each other, they won't fill. So all I have to do is double click now, and the software knows I want to close that, and it will automatically close that into an embroidery. Now, if I want to, I can hit home and hit the zoom button and zoom up really close to this that I've just drawn and check it to see if it's what I want it to be. Now, this weird, it doesn't look right to me. I'm actually going to go to view and realistic so I can see what I drew. Yeah, it's got an outline on it. That's what makes it look weird. So what I'm going to do is under my shapes is I'm going to say don't outline this, not sewn. And that looks more like I want it to be. And then if I come up here and hit this button here, that's what puts the little white nodes on here. So I can pull it out a little bit if I feel like that doesn't look the way it should look. Maybe bring this one in a little bit and go home and zoom out and look and see if that looks the way I think it should look. That mountain looks pretty good. So let's go back to view and back to stitch and home and turn this back to the selector one. Now I'm going to zoom in again, and I'm going to see that maybe right here. That's not quite the same, but I like it. I think it looks good. If I wanted to, if I got really particular, I could change this back to the selects, and I could just click right there and put a white square. Okay, what are you doing? I need to put the white square right there where the dotted line is and push it out like that. Push this out like this. And you can even, if you hit the plus sign, I don't know how accurate we want to be, but if you want to be really accurate, choose this dotted line that's right here, click on it, add another node, push it out a little bit. So you could get really particular. And I've noticed that right up here where that inside circle is, that I've already cut out, I'm going to do this again. That's not really accurate there. I've made this one narrower, but I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I think it's fine, but I could pull it out and make it the right size too. So it's according to how particular you want to be about what you're doing. So now I'm going to zoom down here. Now this part here is going to be a little bit more work. This is the sewing machine that's on this logo. And okay, that's doing something crazy. Let's come on. It's just going and going and going. Hit this. That will zoom in. Now I'm going to hit the plus sign. Draw a box right here. Let go. So, perfect. That's what I want. Now I'm going to do the sewing machine. And this one I want to think about my path. I think I'm going to go around this way. So I'm going to use the shapes tool. And I'm going to use this one right here, which is the curved block. I'm going to click on it. And this one, when you make a satin stitch, you click on one side, move across and click. Click on this side, move across and click. Click on this side, move across and click. If you think of it this way, that you are literally drawing your satin stitching, it will make sense. So when I go around this curve here, I'm going to kind of bring a little closer on the inside curve and a little further on the outside curve. There's another way besides hitting that button that's on the home. If I come way down here, I can zoom in this way. So I'm going to zoom in. That didn't work. Home, zoom, plus. I want to get really, really, really close so that you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, home. Come back to the manual punch tool. Okay, see, it kind of got wonky right there. So I'm going to right click. If you right click, it'll go back. Now, it's back to a stitch on either side. There's one on this side, one on this side. So I'm going to click here and then here and then here and then here. They have to go across each other. If they don't go across each other, they're going to, when they make into a satin stitch, they're going to do kind of like an X in the middle of it. You won't like it. So I'm going to click here and here, and then inside, outside, inside, outside, and I'm creating that stitch. This one up here looks a little weird. I may have to come back and fix it, and I'll show you how to do that. Click here and click here, and then we're going to move our screen up so we can see what we're doing. Oh, come on, don't do too much again. Now I accidentally clicked there, so I'm going to right click to make it let go. Click here, 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 click here. Click here, click here. Double click. Now when I double click, it creates the satin stitch. See? So now if I want to look at it, I keep zooming out where I don't want to zoom out at. So I'm going to hit the plus sign. I'm going to come over here so I'm close, and I'm then going to go view realistic. See, that's my satin stitch I've just created. And right there is where it's a little weird, like I was just saying. So let's go home, hit the plus sign, get really close to that one. I want to see what it did. It did something weird there. So the way I check that is I go up here to select, I choose the edit tool, and it puts those little boxes around there. And I can see somehow I crossed over the wrong way. I can't even remember doing that. But I'm going to try and untangle my mess I made here. I'm going to go home and I'm going to try and get really close. Okay, now get this tool again. This one is there. This one goes over here. This one, they're still crossing over each other. What the heck did I do? I don't know. It X'd over itself all the way down, so I don't know if I can fix this. Sometimes if I make a mistake like that, I literally start over again. But I honestly think if I flip them all over each other, eventually, as I get down here, put this one on this side, this one on this side. That's what happens when you miss just one. It's amazing that they cross over themselves. But I want you to see my mistakes so that you know how to fix it if you accidentally do that. I'm just moving one set of squares over to the other side of this set of squares. And then, aha, it's right. Now see these arrows right here? These arrows are showing the direction of my satin stitch. So if I straighten the arrow up, I just moved the wrong thing. If I straighten this arrow out, see how my satin stitch straightens out? I'm going to go down just a little bit more. And I'm going to pull these two squares so they make more of a point. And bring this one in a little bit. Now, one of the things that happened when I flipped that over is I moved the line, right? So I'm going to say go back out, and then I'm going to take it out of realistic back to stitch mode, and then I'm going to zoom in so I can see. See how I moved that whole thing over? So then let's go home. All I have to do is just move each one of these little squares over. So I'm back to outlining my original one. Now, hopefully you won't have to do all of this, but it's kind of a good thing that I'm showing it to you so you know how to fix mistakes. Here's my squares. I'm moving them all over here. I'm moving this square over to my white line. And then I want to move all of these arrows so they go straight, because I definitely don't want my satin stitches to be all crooked. Let's go up a little bit more. There's an arrow going completely crooked. Move this one over here. This one over here. Move that arrow down. I've got a white square right there that needs to go right there. And look at these up here. They're all wacky. Probably because I was pulling them around trying to figure out where the crossover was. I always tell people when I teach these classes that sometimes doing a logo is hard work, and that's why you don't do it for free for somebody. You charge them money for it. It takes a lot of work. But once you've made it, you're pretty much set. You can change the size of it, you can do all sorts of other things. But I'm telling you, you take the time to do it properly and make sure all your stitches are going the right direction and that it looks nice. You'll be so much happier with it than if you tried to do auto digitizing or something like that. So that I think looks pretty good. I'm going to go to view and realistic and then go, I didn't mean to do that. Go realistic and then I'm going to um, go home and put it back to the selector tool so I can see what it looks like. And this part right here is not pretty. Okay, so we're going to go zoom in here so we can see that. We're going to, so this is a curve tool and it, excuse me, it's got the edit tool here and it's got the two little boxes on the sides. That's what creates a curve. So we're going to take one of these little black boxes on the side and we're going to turn it like that. See how that just kind of smoothed out? Turn it. Right click to symmetry. Sometimes that helps, sometimes it doesn't. Let's see. I'll tell you something else I do sometimes when the curves don't do what I want them to do. I right click and I say to straight. And if I make them straight and it doesn't have all that curve thing, sometimes it's easier to straighten it out. to straight. Okay, it's already looking better. See how nice that looks? Good. That's what we wanted. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out again. You get the idea. And get back over here to this so I get rid of all those arrows. There's just the sewing machine part. So if I want to continue to do this, oh, let's do view, stitch. Now I can see I would do the same thing, tracing every single part of this all the way around so that I get some good stitches on here. But I'm not going to do that because I've already spent a lot of time creating that curve. But I want to go home and use the plus sign and come up here to this part. This was a little bit hard for me the first time I did this. I'm going to show you something you can do. So we're going to do the curve. We're going to left click, remember, on either side like this. Now what do? Because now you want to come back over here. So if you come up here to the feed button, it says the shortcut key B, so you can hit a B. But you can also hit the feed button, and then you can click, 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 and come back over here to the starting one, and then go back to your curve one again. And now we're going to go left click, left click, left click, left click, left click, left click. And that will continue them together. Now I'm going to do something really weird right here. I'm going to say the same spot, come out, the same spot, come out, the same spot, come out, because I'm trying to do a really tight curve. So I'm going to come same spot and out, same spot, come down to here. You kind of have to figure out how am I going to make this really tight curve. Double click. What did we get? Let's go back to the view, realistic. I kind of like that. That worked. So the only part is it doesn't connect with this part of the sewing machine. So what do? We go home, change to the edit nodes, click on it, and then pull the little white boxes down so that they're underneath this one. And then if I hit the plus sign here in my sewing order, this part right here needs to, I'm going to click off of it so they're not all selected. Come on. This part needs to go up here. And this part needs to go up here. So it's before the sewing machine. It's going to sew that first, and then this is going to go over the top of it. And that looks like that worked pretty good, like that. So I would continue to draw this until I get it completely done. But I want to show you something else. We're going to zoom out. And we're going to, I'm not going to have this mountain scene so over the blue. I want it to cut out from behind it. So in order to do that, I need to get my selector tool here. I'm going to click off of it. I'm going to click the mountain and then hold my control button down and click the blue. So now the only thing that's selected is the mountain and the blue in the background. Modify overlap, remove overlap. And if you look at it over here, you'll see that the blue has got a cutout there. So that'll do that. And And then I would have the rest of the sewing machine finished. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time with that. I want to put the Rocky Mountain in here next. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go. Now I can select my letters and click on it, do the drop down, and choose something that looks like the lettering that's in my logo. I will type out Rocky Mountain. Whoops, I need cap lock. Whoops, I probably need a space too, right? So let's come up here and click right between Rocky and Mountain and put a space. Okay, Rocky Mountain. I'm going to hit enter so that turns it into the letters. Let's pull them so that they're about the size I want them to be. And I can usually tell by putting it right here in the circle if that's the size I want them to be. And that looks pretty good. I'm going to make them blue. So I'm going to click on here and choose the blue. So I could come over here and hit the transform button and hit curve, correct? And it would curve it. But the curve would probably be wrong. And it's a little bit difficult to get it the right size. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take the transform off. What I am going to do is I'm going to come up here to home and I'm going to pick a shape and I want a circle. And then I'm going to draw a circle and I want it to be, thinking about it for a minute, I want it to be the same size as the circle I already have. So I'm going to just kind of pull that out a little bit till it's the same size as the circle I already have. And I'm going to move it way over here just so it doesn't get confusing for me. So that's the right size circle. I'm going to say do not sew. So literally it's just a dashed line on here. I'm going to say Control D and make a second circle. I'll move that one over here. Okay, let's go home and let's zoom out just a little bit so I can see more what I'm doing here. Okay, so, oh, not zoom out that much. Oh, good grief. I'm having trouble getting back to like where I want to be. Let's select all of these. There. Now it's zoomed in where I want it to be. Okay, let's get this out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to get my selector key. I'm going to select Rocky Mountain and I'm going to select the circle. You know what? It just hit me. This circle is not the right size. I wanted it to be the smaller circle size. So I'm going to pull it down a little bit. You guys are seeing me make all my mistakes. Okay, so I went out and I went back in again. I had to edit the screen because I completely lost my dash line. Now I'm telling you something that I have discovered that will happen. I love to do this as a path, but if you put it on top of this, it'll disappear and then you won't be able to get it back again. So I had to do a lot of weird stuff to get this path again, and make it the right size and everything. So anyway, so I've got two circles that are the same size as this inside circle that have a do not sew. If I go under my shapes menu, it says not sewn. There's no sewing data in there. So I'm going to select the Rocky Mountain, and then I'm going to select, hold the control button down and select the circle that I drew. And you got to get right on those dashed lines or it won't select it. So I can tell they're both selected because I got the black squares going around them both. Then what you want to do is if you come up here and you're in the home strip, there's a thing that says fit text. Hit fit text to outline. And it opens this box over here that asks you, do you want it to sit on top or do you want it to be lined up or do you want it to follow? I just leave it the way they've got it there and say, okay. And it will fit that text to that circle. And that makes that so when I pick it up and put it right here, just right. And the reason why you want to do it that way instead of putting it on the curved line over here, this transform thing down here, is not only does it not always get it the right size, but we want the one at the bottom to be the same curve. We don't want it to be different curves. And that's why we duplicated it to this one over here. Now I'm going to go up here and I'm going to select my letters, click on here, and I'm going to write sewing, sewing and vacuum. And I'm going to hit enter. And I'll pull this up a little bit. And I'm going to rest my mouse on it so that I can put it over here and see if it looks like the letters are pretty much the same size. Sometimes visuals much better than numbers. Let's go home and let's zoom in. Let's pick up this V. I think that's pretty much the same size. I put that M on top of that M, and that's the same size. Okay, so now I'm going to put it over here. We're going to zoom back out again. I want to put this sewing and vacuum on this circle here. So I'm going to hold my control button down and select it. Come on. Now they're both selected because I got the black boxes around them both. And I'm going to say fit text to outline. And this time I'm going to say put it on the bottom of the line. Let's see. This one. See the bottom of the line? And then I'm going to say the other side. And when I say okay, it appears on the bottom of the line on the other side. But what happened? They're backwards. Let me move this thing out of the way so you can see. The sewing and vacuum is completely backwards. So what do? We do rotate flip and we say flip vertically. And then we say rotate flip, flip horizontally. And voila, sewing and vacuum. So now I just have to pick this up and put it on here. I'm going to adjust the size of the circle just a tad. And maybe pick it up and move it just over just a little bit. That looks pretty good to me. I think I did a good job. And I've created a logo. Of course, I didn't finish the sewing machine, but you know how to go about doing that. And I've already been talking to you for probably half an hour. So you get the idea. It takes a lot of work. It really is a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it. And you will find that once you've created that, if you've got a client, they're going to really like the work that you did. And you can size it as easy as taking it, selecting the whole thing, and making it smaller. I'm going to hit the image and turn my image off. I just made it a lot smaller, just like that, and I can charge them a whole new fee for making a new logo at a different size. So it, like I said before, it takes a lot of work, but it's definitely worth it, and you'll get a better logo than you would if you tried to use the auto stitch or any of those things. So I hope you learned what some of these tools are on here, and that you enjoyed this lesson. I'll be back in just a second, and I'll show you what this looks like all embroidered out.
Okay, so I hope you really enjoyed that. I got a little fumbled. I mixed up a little bit. I put some of the nodes in the wrong places, but I think it was a really good lesson to show you what to do when you do make a mistake and when you got to straighten things out. And it helped you a little bit to learn how to put some letters on a curve to make it fit in the circle of a logo. At least I hope it did. And here's a picture. I don't actually have the logo that I embroidered out here because I put it on the wall at work. So if you're in the Denver area and you want to come by and see exactly what I created, please come see me in Arvada. Say hi. Tell me that you watch my YouTube channel. But otherwise, I'm going to put a picture of it really big on the screen so you can see it. I think it came out really, really well. It embroidered beautifully. It did take about 156 minutes to sew this one out because it is a 10 by 10. But then you could make it smaller, sew it out smaller, and get the same results. So anyway, I'm back. Did you like that? I thought it came out really good. And I hope you learned something. I hope you had a good time. Remember to like and subscribe. Also remember to check out my Facebook page. It's also called Enchanting Rosemary Sewing and Embroidery. And I also have an Instagram. So go ahead and take a look at some of the pictures of some of the things that I've made. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.